Kyle and Alicia. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Absolutely. I'm glad you could join us this Tuesday evening to talk about this amazing new record that you just put out, Kyle, and certainly Alicia. When I was talking to Kyle last night ahead of the interview, and we were ensuring we listed all the folks that we wanted to thank, all the production folks and other instrumentalists and so on. Alicia, he sang your praises and just said that he honestly he would not have released this album had it not been for your help. So I think that's just that's pretty awesome, and so we definitely wanted to make you a part of this wild ride that he's on.
Oh, thank you so much. I feel so grateful to be a part of it. It's amazing to watch from the very beginning when he was just getting these songs written down out in the mountains. He'd be out there playing and sending me stuff, and now we're here and it's on the radio, and I just couldn't be more grateful to watch this come to fruition.
Very cool.
I'm so grateful to have you here. And a shout out to JD, my producer. None of this would be possible if it wasn't for him. He's my angel. So grateful. I think he's listening right now. Thank you for everything you've done and for our continued work together.
Certainly. And we will round back and we will be sure to thank them again on the back end as well. Now, Kyle, what I want to do is the way that we're going to listen to 3 more songs from the record during the interview tonight, and they go I don't know if it's chronological order, but it's definitely the order that you laid them down on the record. And so I kind of want to do your sort of life and how you came to be here in that same sort of order, right? And so we talked so much last night about so many things, and so as I touch on them, if we want to, certainly feel free to extrapolate more on things, or if I forget to point something up that's especially poignant or an important part, be sure to just shout it right out, okay?
Yeah, sure.
You've got the floor, certainly. So, singer, songwriter, and psychotherapist. You are a UT grad. We love the UT alumni. Just a round of applause for the volunteer spirit, and that brought you here. Born and raised in England, Brooklyn for a time, and then Knoxville. Tell us how that journey.
Yeah, so I was actually born in Atlanta, Georgia. My mom was American, and I moved to England when I was 1 year old. I grew up there until I was 13, and then I came over to Brooklyn. And I was in Brooklyn up until about 26, 27. And then I came here for grad school. I had found a connection here through a Buddhist meditation center called Milarepa Oso Chozong. It's a difficult name. And I just felt a connection to the land out here, the mountains. The pace was different. I mean, if you've been in New York City, it's pretty fast paced. And growing up in England, I grew up in little villages and small towns. And so I think we talked about it last night, but just that transition, coming into a city. I was in 8th grade, and little things like I'm not going to be wearing a uniform anymore, which maybe seems small, but it was kind of a big deal, because I was like, okay, what am I going to wear to school? How am I going to dress? And the culture was just completely different. So I loved New York, and I loved definitely the influence it had on me musically. I've got some great friends who are wonderful musicians, and I just felt so grateful to watch them develop too. And so that's sort of how I ended up here.
You wanted to be an actor. You were thinking at one point, many years ago, that it was going to be the progression was going to go in a completely different direction.
Yes. So I went to a school called SUNY Purchase in New York, and I had always loved acting. I got into the program there, the BFA Conservatory, and it was one of the best years of my life. I learned so much from my teachers and from my company. But I think I was a junior when I started, and the program was a 4-year program. And so I was with all these freshmen essentially going in. We were all different ages, but I was looking at 8 years on the same campus. So I left that. I finished a degree in philosophy, and then I wanted to get an MFA in acting, and I was convinced that's what I want to do. And parallel lives, I definitely think that there's, part of me that could imagine that I was doing that now, and seeing some of the people that I was in the company with on TV and film, it's really, it's a parallel life. But I was set on going to Yale, and I didn't get in. And when I didn't get in, I started to think about what the lifestyle would look like for me as an actor. I was doing little auditions in the city, and I just remember one day walking through just this sludge of New York City snow, and it was grimy and nasty, and it was early, and then I had to go do the audition. I didn't feel very good about the audition. Then I had to go straight to work at a restaurant waitering, and I just looked at that lifestyle and I was like, I don't think this is for me. And that was sort of the first real consideration of, all right, what do I want to do? I think I want to be a therapist.
And when did you first pick up a guitar?
Ooh, that's a good question. I was actually just talking about this with my dad the other day. I did a concert for him and my stepmom when I was about 9 years old in New York. And I gave them a pamphlet with all the songs, and one of them was called Kill the Stone.
I've heard it.
She's heard it, yeah. And none of the songs had any content except what came out of me in that moment. But I kind of started writing songs around the time of 16. I had my first heartbreak. And yeah, Alicia knows that song pretty well. It's
another good one.
Another good one. Yeah, it was quite crude. Yeah, I want you, and I can't get you back now that I need you more than ever. I miss you, and I feel like crap. I can't believe that we're not together. I mean, it gets bad. It gets bad.
I mean, that rhymes. It's pretty good.
Yeah,
I know, we got some rhyming in it.
There's nothing like a heartbreak to kickstart a artistic career.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the fundamental place that I started from. And I remember my stepmom, she came into my room, and bless her heart, she was just like, "Good job, hon. Like, keep going." Like, because I was just a mess. And yeah, I just kind of casually wrote as the years went on. And I think by the time I got to college, I started to use it as a form of expression. And I started to get more serious about what I was writing. And it was always a way for me to express myself. And so, yeah, it was really cool to kind of watch that develop.
Let's talk about one of the first icebergs, I guess, of your life, and where a lot of the prose for this record comes from.
Yeah.
The relationship with your mom, but moreover, the loss of your mom to alcoholism.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, 2017, she passed away. She had cirrhosis of the liver, and it was this very powerful moment for me because I was obviously very devastated, but it also felt kind of validating because forever she was, she would say, "I'm not an alcoholic, I don't drink, like, I'm fine." And it was sort of this moment of, yeah, I mean, let's acknowledge what it was. I mean, your body gave up on you, and I don't have to feel crazy for that anymore because the reality is on the table. And so this project definitely came out of that grieving time. I was, I just applied to grad school for counseling and social work, figuring out what I was going to do. I went right into a yoga teacher training a few days after I'd gotten to say goodbye to my mom. And I get back and, ended up deciding to move to Tennessee. Felt like the right decision for me. And I'm sort of fast forwarding here a little bit, but then I met JD, my producer, and we sat down. I played him a couple of songs, and he said to me, what do you want people to feel when they hear your music? And that was the beginning of me really taking my music seriously, and the way I express myself through it, and then the loss of her. And this project has come to represent the loss of her, but also the love we had, the relationship we had, and then to bring light to alcoholism. I think it's a subject that we really often stay clear of. And I said this the other day, that the number one symptom of alcoholism is denial. Mm-hmm. And I think that it's really important that people get to hear music that speaks to, hey, you're not crazy. It's really common, whether it's your mother, your father, your any family members, friends, it touches someone. And if that denial is a piece, then we need other voices to come in and say, hey, I see what's going on, and you're not crazy for that. And so that was the beginning of this. And I think I said it to you yesterday, that it was really powerful and ironic in a way that we released this in April, Alcohol Awareness Month, and we didn't even realize that. And so it's become this great moment to go, yeah, this is not just my story anymore. As soon as I released it, it's anyone's story, anyone who relates to it.
And we talked about your practice, and we'll get to that a little farther in, changing your own narrative. But before you can change your own narrative, you need to stop denying. You need to admit what the narrative is, right? And I think as you were going through college and your first heartbreak and all these things, and you're starting to express yourself through music, and then as you're grieving relationships that didn't work out or different things, you're suddenly encountering situations where you have to make a choice about what sort of adult you're becoming and how you are going to embrace and move on from your grief in ways that are more productive than what you saw growing up from your mother.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to say as well, I'm very grateful for so many family members I had in my life and friends that supported me, and I wouldn't be the person I am today if it wasn't for all that support, which is why it's so important that we have community and all of that. But yeah, this topic of narrative, so important. I think this album was really an opportunity for me to explore that in a way that wasn't so fragmented, if that makes sense, like putting together this linear story that laid out all these feelings and just put it out there and didn't try and edit or to do anything to it, to just let it be what it was, helped me explore my own story. And it is really important, I think, as a therapist, that's what I'm doing with people all day, right? We're exploring their stories and maybe rewriting it and recognizing, like, hey, we can rewrite our stories. It doesn't have to be just the beliefs that we've picked up. And I know I'm kind of all over the place here.
Right? No, that's great. So we've gone about 5 more minutes before we need to go to break.
Okay.
And so what I want you to do, Kyle, if you will, is we played Ache, and we can go back and talk about it, but I want to get to the next song on the record, Drinking With You. I want you to sort of set that up for us, what that looked like in real time for you, what the song sort of means and why it's the second song on the record, or is it the second? I don't know if it's the second official one. It's but anyhow, set it up for us, sort of pitch it for us.
Okay. Well, that song, I had just come back from my yoga teacher training. I was living in this tiny shoebox of a room in Brooklyn. I felt like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what's coming next. And then this song kind of emerged as I was thinking about the ways in which my mom and I connected. And so there's this sort of, if you can't beat them, join them thing that happened where, years and years of saying, you're an alcoholic, you need to stop drinking, and being met with, no, I'm not. You're the one with the problem. Like, it's just, you're not seeing it correctly. After a while, I was more concerned with, okay, how do I connect with you? Because, just my mom. I loved her and I wanted to connect with her.
Right.
So this song, and especially when I moved at 13 and I was visiting her maybe once a year in the summers, I really wanted to take advantage of the time that I would have with her, and it would be limited. And she had moved to this tiny village called Great Bentley. It's right outside of Colchester in Essex in England. And there's nothing there really. I mean, maybe there is and I just don't know. But for my experience of being there, there was the pub. And it was down the road walking from where she lived. And that was what we would do. We'd go to the pub. We'd play some pool. She was on a pool team. And it was fun. I really enjoyed connecting with her. And I would drink. And it became a lot more tolerable to be around her if I was drunk too. So I kind of got into a habit when I would see her with, okay, well, this is what we're doing. I'm going to drink. And, I've always had back and forth relationship with alcohol. And I think, especially after doing this album, it kind of helped me recognize, alcohol's something to be really mindful of and to recognize how powerful of a drug it is, right? And I stress that word because we say drugs and alcohol. I still don't understand that.
Right.
And so this song is sort of my journey into joining her in the alcoholism, joining her in the feeling. And I mean,
meeting her where she's at.
Meeting her where she's at, yeah. And I think it wasn't satisfying for me, and I think I'm where I am now because it's not satisfying for me. I don't want that. But in the album, I think it really sets up the story of, hey, I really want to get close to you, but this is not healthy, and I can't do this. We're going to destroy ourselves. This is really destructive. And I think that a lot of codependency kind of is the same thing. It's like, hey, I'm going to do this. Is that okay? Well, if this is how I'm going to get close to you, then I'm going to do it too. And so I think that song hopefully addresses that.
If you can't beat them, join them. Meeting your mother where she's at type thing. Fast forward that to us before we go into Dear World. We've got several minutes. I want to talk about what happens next. Lay out what this looks like for you.
Well, I was devastated. Obviously, loss of mom, 2017. Just felt like I was a million pieces on the floor. Went to India to do my yoga teacher training, which couldn't have been more perfect because it was just being in my body all day, every day for 6 weeks. And it was a way in which to kind of come back, ground myself, and be present with the emotions that were coming up. I had been in therapy from the age of like 13 until recently. And so I had a lot of knowledge about therapy, and I remember just being like, I love this, and I really appreciate like learning about my process and my emotions, and being able to kind of reshape my narrative. And so when my mom died, I think I was really grateful to have that awareness. And then also, we talked a bit about Buddhism yesterday, just the recognition that there's things that we can't control, and we might want something to happen, or we might not want something to happen, but ultimately things happen how they will. And so that helped me with the loss of her. And it helped me sort of develop and open up to this idea that I think I want to be a therapist, and I think I want to help others connect with their pain in a way that's honest and truthful to them. And that was really powerful. And hopefully this is let me know if I think I'm getting lost a little bit.
No, you are great. You're great. And so we had talked about the Buddhist meditation center. We talked about different sorts of therapy. So there are different sorts of exercises one does. And I thought it was really great how you in your practice, you've got a myriad of ages of patients, and you use music, and even you may have your guitar in your office. You try to find new creative ways for folks to express themselves through music or through some sort of artistic endeavor type thing. But dialectic behavioral therapy, acceptance, and
commitment therapy.
And commitment therapy. Talk about how those sort of things helped you with your mom following her loss.
I think that really being in my body, meditation, and then thinking about kind of what are my values and what goals do I want to set to keep moving forward in my life. You know, anyone who's lost someone may be able to relate to this feeling of meaninglessness about everything, because you're in so much pain. And so I wanted to take that with me into practice as a therapist and really help people get into their bodies, express themselves creatively, however that looks for them, whether that's music. I do art. I'll have, patients come in and draw or paint. So we do role play and acting, and, that can be really, really fun, and it's a great way that I can incorporate some of the skills I had in that. But creating a space where people can come to understand who they are and who they are authentically, right? Not just who they want to come off as. Some of the struggles that we have, right, is figuring out who we are and who we want to be, and how we get true with that for ourselves, and then how we communicate that to others. And so the practice as a therapist has been I love my job. I have so much joy for what I do and for the progress I get to see in my clients. And that journey has been really special because of the pain I've been through. I can really relate to my clients and see how we can tap into that pain and not try and get rid of it, but sort of accept it and learn from it, and then create a new story. And I think this album is a great example of that, right? How do we tap into the pain that we have and create something from it?
Right. And accepting that there is going to be some level of discomfort or suffering, right? And no matter what your life path is. And so Alcohol Awareness Month, I thought it was really poignant that you released the album this month. Alcohol Awareness Month is a public program that was organized by the National Council on Alcoholism and Drug Dependence back in April of 1987 with the intention of targeting college-age students specifically who might be drinking too much as part of their newfound freedom. Well, fast forward that to this pandemic, we have seen across the board the dependency, drug dependency, coping, all sorts of coping mechanisms with a pandemic or with loss of loved ones or what have you. And so again, you don't know if you're not used to going to therapy, if you're not used to talking through your emotions, if you don't have a strong circle of sort of emotionally intelligent family members to kind of bounce ideas off of, it can feel very lonely and debilitating. Anxiety is everybody has had anxiety as a result of this pandemic. We've talked to hundreds of people on air on this show and the show before it. And so I guess what I'm trying to culminate all there for you to touch on is just, and it's a Buddhist principle too, but certainly in therapy as well, this sort of non-attachment that you have to have. Like, you have to sort of detach from the weight of your emotions surrounding your suffering or your grief or what have you, so that you can heal through it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think I loved what you said last night about, it's really easy to get lost in that world with someone, right? Someone who's suffering, someone who's an alcoholic, and that codependence is, the guilt of leaving, right? Oh, I should have stayed. I should take care of this person. I should be the role model for them. And it's painful to recognize that we actually have to be able to separate and detach in order to grow and appreciate and love them, even if it's from a distance. And so, yeah, I mean, pandemic's a great example. There's so many people who get this can happen, right? This dynamic can happen for individuals, for couples. And how do we learn from those dynamics rather than let them define us? And so as a therapist, yeah, that's such a powerful thing to help someone go, you know what, you're responsible for you, and you're responsible for being the best version of you and for loving people in the best way you can, but you're not responsible for others and their actions. We're all equally responsible for our own. And so part of therapy too is helping people to take ownership of themselves. And I think for me, creating this album as well, it was about how do I take ownership of my story, right? So we all have to take ownership of our own stories. And so, yeah, Alcohol Awareness Month, let's bring more attention to it. Let's get people more involved in this conversation. You're not alone, and your voice is important. And with that is love, is healthy love, right? Is something that has taken me a long time to really understand, and it's a work in progress. It always will be. But sitting here next to my fiance Alicia is such a joy right now, and I can reflect on the last couple of years. 2017, I lost my mom. 2019, I meet Alicia, the love of my life, and it has been this wonderful whirlwind journey that we've been on, and we've both learned so much. And I think this next song, Dear World, really speaks to that, right? We all have pain, we're all suffering in some way, but we can heal that, and we can heal that through love. And one of the lyrics in the song is, with every wound I'll heal it with the courage to love you. And for me, every time I hear that line, it makes my day more special, more meaningful, more important. And it guides me in my actions and my principles and my values. And so I think, this album is many emotions, but there's so much love in it. And I think that's what's important too, is, when we're truthful and honest about our stories, love is going to be there. It just will.
Right.
And so with this song, I think it's really cool to reflect on it now, years since I created it, and kind of recognize, wow, we've manifested a lot of this. And anyone who listens, maybe, you got a few really intense songs, and then this one comes in, it's kind of like a little hug to remind you.
It's beautiful. And Alicia sings.
Yes, she does.
And Alicia, do you play the piano, or was it your mom that played the piano, or how did that go?
Yeah, so I sing, I duet on this, and my mother plays the piano on it, and her piano playing is just incredible on this, and she plays it on her own piano in her house. We were able to set up a little recording studio in her house to get her piano part down.
Shout out to you. What's your mom's name?
Heather Maroney.
Heather Maroney.
Shout out to Miss Heather.
Heather Maroney,
yes.
If you're listening, I love you.
Thank you, Heather.
Yeah, it's such a song of love and growth. And I mean, in the song it talks about if our garden's overgrown with weeds, we'll pick them, start over, no matter how many years. And that just speaks to love is hard, and you're going to have difficult times, and love is just about enduring that and picking the weeds and starting over. And I just remember that whenever we're having a tough time, whenever I'm having a tough time in relationship with anyone. I mean, it's just a beautiful story of what love can really be.
Absolutely. Well, growth and renewal
Yes.
and everything, and then just learning to love the weeds.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
love the weeds.
Love the weeds.
I love those weeds.
Yes.
We all have them.
Yeah, we sure do.
That is so very cool. So, Alicia, let me ask you, what looking at your fiance and got 29, so y'all met in 2019, pretty quick, fell in love, you knew this was the guy type thing. Tell me about the growth or what you've seen in him over the years, as he's grown into this just awesome individual that's now releasing this brand new album.
Wow, where to begin? It's been amazing watching him grow. I mean, we met, and shortly after we met, the pandemic hit, and we were living in a really tiny 600 square foot house together. And he was just graduated and just getting his business going, figuring out where he wanted to be and what he wanted to do with his therapy business, and going through a lot of personal growth in therapy, reading all the books, and being in that small space. I mean, it really put both of us through an enormous amount of growth, because we're in this pandemic and it's we're together all the time. We worked together as well, which was really fun and also really difficult, because you really get to know everything about a person when you're spending that much time with them.
Right, no mystery, right?
No mystery. There was no mystery at all. But that was so beautiful, because I really did get to see him grow. Like, from the beginning of, like I said, this album, I got to see, he'd go out to the mountains, we'd take some space, and he'd come back and he'd have like a whole song written. And he'd be like, and this is the piano part that I want you to do. And that was really amazing. Met JD and was able to get it going and really get it growing. So yeah, it's been amazing to watch him grow in his music, in his therapy, and as a partner. I mean, we've gone to counseling together. We've read so many books together. We've gone on so many adventures together. We've gone to England. We've gone to New York. I mean, we got engaged in England, actually.
Oh, what is that story?
Oh, that was the most magical story ever. We were in the Cotswolds. Cornwall.
Yeah, on the coast of England.
On the coast of England, and we were on, it was like a fairy tale. We were on a cliffside, and the ocean was just crashing against the cliffs, and it was a perfect sunny day, and he takes me to this little ledge, and
God, I was so nervous.
He was so nervous.
Oh, man. I had no idea what kind of nerves were going to come.
Yeah, and then he got down on one knee and was like, I want to spend my life with you. And I had known for a really long time. Just watching him grow, watching him put in all of the work to make this relationship work, to make his career goals work, this album work. I was like, this is my partner. There's such strength in him.
We love
thanks,
that.
Love. Thank you.
We love that.
Yeah.
When is the wedding?
We have to figure that out.
Next fall.
Okay.
That's the goal.
Yeah,
In the
next fall.
mountains of East Tennessee, or a destination wedding, or do we know?
So my mom actually has she just got her dream farmhouse.
Yeah.
And it's a big, beautiful farmhouse, and it has a gorgeous backyard. And we've always dreamed of having a fall backyard wedding with the fireplaces and
and the
string
ribbons of
lights
color,
and,
all the trees and whatnot.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's the dream.
Very
hot
cool.
apple cider. I really want some of that.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And so, is there going to be any iridescent blue? Something borrowed, something iridescent blue?
Oh, there you go.
At
Something
the-
old, something new, something iridescent blue. Yeah.
Maybe that's a new song. You're giving me ideas right now. This is good. Yeah, that was something that you mentioned last night that I wanted to just touch on. The iridescent blue. You asked me where did that title come from, and That was, yeah, I love that question, because I think this album, the reason we have that title is because it's both representing her alcoholism in terms of she used to drink like Sky vodka in these blue bottles, but it was also the love that I had for her, and the connection that we had together. She would have we would always have iridescent blue objects around the house, and so yeah, it's iridescent blue for me will now always represent this bittersweetness, and I love that, because I think life is always a bit of a mixture of those two. So yeah, we'll have to think of some iridescent blue wedding stuff for sure.
Yes, that's very cool.
Yeah.
And that's the song that we're going to end with.
Yeah.
Before we do, though, we've got just a few minutes, you guys. Let's shout out J.D. Sizemore. Let's shout out who the other instrumentalists were throughout the album, and then shout out your Instagram page and all the things where we can find your music. And are you going to be playing live coming up anywhere? What does that look like?
Yeah, that's the plan at some point. Gotta get some things in the works. But yeah, shout out to JD. You know, none of this would have been possible without him. Big local collective, amazing producer. You know, work with him if you're a musician. It will be totally worth it. Cecilia Blair Wright, thank you so much for her incredible cello. I always envisioned cello on this album, and as Alicia heard many times, I had piano in my head, but more often than not I had cello that I was hearing, and so that was really cool to have her on it. Tyler Mazzaro, he was also a cellist on the album, and Drinking With You, he brought this real darkness to it, and I love that, so that's been wonderful. Heather Maroney, obviously, wonderful having her just go away and kind of create, I didn't give her any instructions, she just came up with it, and that was wonderful to sort of just let go of that control and just trust that she would do something beautiful, and it far exceeded anything that I could have imagined. Alicia, I mean, you just heard her voice on Dear World. Her piano playing has been absolutely beautiful. I am so in love with her piano playing, and we hope to collaborate on a new album together that we're going to start working on. And in this song, Iridescent Blue, she's playing the piano, and it's just beautiful. Vocals as well, Janie Bianconi, amazing job. She kind of plays the I like to think of her as like the ghostly figure of my mom, and we have been playing for many years together, and she's duets on Push and Pull. Amazing voice, so that was really incredible. I'm trying to think, anyone else I can think? Yeah, so you can check me out, Kyle Nathaniel Music on Instagram. That's my handle. And hoping to play out live. Just got to get some things in the works. And Spotify, Apple Music, basically all streaming services, you'll be able to find it. Iridescent Blue is the name of the album. There's a few singles out. You've actually heard all the singles so far tonight. We had Ache, Drinking With You, and Dear World, and this last one, Iridescent Blue, is actually my favorite song. This is, it was actually a letter that I wrote to my mom. I really wanted something lyrically kind of simple that was not overthought about, and just kind of me speaking from my heart. And so this is what came out of that song. And yeah.
Beautiful. You guys, thank you for coming. And Corwin Trails,
yes. Oh my God, Sam, he's amazing. He plays electric guitar on there. Wonderful, great friend of mine. So check him out too. He has an awesome album. Kind of got a what's the name of the?
It's got kind of a Hayao Miyazaki feel, like those movies. Some of the beautiful instrumental music he makes.
Yeah, and he works in a hospital, playing guitar to people who are struggling, end of life or with major issues, and he's brought a new music program to hospitals in Michigan. And he's heading it, and he's just
he's
a beautiful
incredible
soul. So yeah.
Shout out Joe Hishashi. He's the one who does the
he does the
soundtrack
music. Yeah.
to the Miyazaki movies.
Okay.
Yeah.
We love him.
Yes.
No, he's great. So if it sounds anything like that, I'm sure it's magnificent.
It really is. Otherworldly, for
Yeah,
sure.
otherworldly.
Yes.
Yes.
Alrighty. Well, let's cut to Iridescent Blue. Kyle, Alicia, thank you so much for coming in studio with us, and we will be sharing the audio of tonight's interview and your music online as well.
Yeah.
And definitely stay in touch and keep us apprised of everything that you're doing and when the next live show is, so we can certainly be there to cheer you on, okay?
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was our pleasure.